All right. Good evening. It's 6:30. I'll call the planning board meeting to order. This meeting is being recorded, as you just saw. Those in attendance for the planning board are Joe Zagrodnik, myself, Jim Maximowski, Kishore Parmar, Bill Dwyer, and Mark Dunn. And with that, Mr. Dwyer, first up for general information.
First in was Chris Chamberlain.
Great. Hello. And I'm here with the Chafees, who are the owners of 207 Russell Street. I think Reja just wants to just mention a little bit why we're here, and then I have a plan to share for a little parking expansion that we're planning there. And really just the purpose was to share that with the board and make sure to get see if there are any major questions or concerns that we should address as we're putting an application together. But Reja, if you wanted to just explain a little bit about what led us here, if you are able to. And you're muted. If not, I'll just forge ahead.
Okay, yeah.
All right. And if I could have sharing privileges.
All set.
Great. So let's see. Hang on, I want to share. Let's start here. This, why do I have two windows? There we go. So this is the property at 207. This is the Tandem Bagel former Sears property here. And so this has a number of health offices and the F45 Fitness Center. And this is a site that was approved and built around 2015 in the layout that you see here. And very quickly, I will switch over to my plan sheets. And so this is the existing site as constructed. The major site feature that's a constraint is wetlands in the back. And so as the site was built, the sort of back edge of the development is right here along these rows of parking, and then it slopes down to the no disturb line for the wetlands. And this is the project as approved, with just a couple of things are different as it's operating today. There were a couple of dumpster locations. The current tenants haven't really been producing enough trash to need the dumpsters, so those aren't there. And there's an extra parking space here, one that's not really used here, but largely the site was built per plan. As tenants have been occupying this site, parking has been a major constraint. And so the Chafees are looking to add additional parking spaces. It's a fairly tight site, but we did grab the plans that SVE had originally proposed, which included some reserve parking. And with a similar layout to that, what we're going to be bringing an application for is to construct a retaining wall right along that no disturb line on the buffer, which allows us to widen this site out to sort of create two rows of parking, where you can see sort of in the background, there's one row today up here, and then to open up access so we can get double loaded parking here and open up a little bit of pavement space to create spaces on either side. And under this proposal, if we can work out all the details once we get into the more technical drawings, we'd be bringing the site from what was designed at 46 parking spaces, adding 13 to get up to 59 spaces. We do have a constraint of an existing transformer in this location that we're not looking to move, so the access gets a little awkward here, although preliminarily it looks like we can work it out with appropriate circulation. And we are accounting for a single central dumpster location with enough run out that the trucks can get in and out of there. We did a preliminary review of the stormwater system, and we'll have to prove this out, but it looks like things were over-designed so that compared to the undeveloped site, we really may not even need to do anything to the stormwater system to continue to meet stormwater standards compared to before this site was built. So that's the real quick explanation. We're just trying to find ways to get more parking here in this small little envelope that we had. And just again, wanted to find out if there are any red flags that came up as we think about this plan, or if there are particular concerns that maybe the board remembers from back then that we should make sure to address as we put an application together and bring this forward. And of course, we'll also be talking to conservation similarly, because we've got to work with the wetland buffer that we've got back here.
No, from my point of view, I think it's great because I have received several complaints from abutting businesses that your tenants are parking on their property and they're having cars towed, and I'm sure you heard all about that kind of stuff. So now you've got rather upset tenants and upset customers and so on and so forth. So I think it's really good that you're putting in some more parking there.
Yeah, exactly. And I can, in speaking with Reja, he's aware that his tenants are concerned, and also has some unleased space that he's certainly got opportunities to bring additional businesses in there, but that's not really possible right now, the way things are laid out. So, good. So that's great.
Oh, sorry, Chris, but how's that affect the bagel place, the drive-through?
Beagle's next door.
Yeah, that's separated from the set. I'll bring the map back up.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Not this parcel, Joe. That's the other parcel next
All
door.
right.
And yeah, I think it's like
sorry,
parcels.
and that
Yeah,
so
yeah.
this is us,
Two parcels down, yeah.
and this is that larger site that has the tandem
I got
bagel
you.
and the other properties.
Oh, yeah, you're right about the, it's tight there,
Mm-hmm.
parking. And it's the nature of the businesses too, yes.
Chris, what would you do with snow removal? You would push that off the southwest?
Yeah, so we're gonna have to look at that carefully. We may have to talk to conservation because this southwest corner has a stormwater basin. Different commissions feel differently about whether that's appropriate. I think we're okay in this case because that's really just an overflow that doesn't even see water except in the 100-year storm. So I think that's a very reasonable place to do it, but we'll have to see if they agree.
You also have space on your front green setback.
Yeah, and we'll just have to be careful that doesn't create sightline issues. So this is a straightaway, so and there are no major driveways close by, so that's probably viable too.
My only concern would be that you mentioned that there's still space available, just to make sure you cover yourselves regarding if those are rented, do you still have enough spaces or are you going to have to redo it again? That's my only concern for the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think we'll take a look and make the best assessment we can as to what the demand is. And I think my understanding is that fitness place is the real peak question, is when those classes are happening, they get a ton of people in, and that all come in at once and then clear out. So that the whether that lease runs for a long time or not may be part of that calculation.
Yeah, this is Sheeta Shafi. I'm also
great.
on the call. My dad is having a hard time unmuting. He's a little bit older. Sorry, guys. But I'm just going to kind of speak to that. I think you're exactly right that the fitness, someone said earlier that it's the nature of the businesses. The fitness center, during their morning rush and their afternoon rush has a lot of people. And unfortunately, they've gotten they've tried to get their people to, comply as far as they can, but people have been parking in other places, we can't physically stop people from, doing the wrong thing. And so that's been frustrating. And I think we are taking that into consideration. And, I don't know if the fitness place will continue their lease with us. I think they have about a year or two left. I can't remember exactly. But they sort of expressed that they need more parking, and this parking isn't just to solve their problem, but for every unit, I'd love for the units just to have more parking there just to make it accessible. And, I think the point being noted about the type of business that we bring into the next space will also matter. And I think just sort of more professional spaces where it's not, 30 people coming into a class once at a time at like 9 a.m., 10 a.m. would probably be a better source. So that's definitely being taken into account on our end too. And I appreciate the consideration of this committee.
You'll move forward and come back with drainage, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep, exactly. And I assume since we'll be adding impervious area, even if we conclude that we don't need to expand stormwater, that you'd still want that reviewed.
Yeah, I think so, because of conservation, will also want to look at that.
Yep.
So I think just to cover both bases, so probably would be a good idea.
Okay, we'll account for that.
And Chris, do you have adequate lighting to push? Looks like you're pushing back, what, maybe 10, 20 feet?
Yep, have not gotten nearly that far.
Sure.
Good question. We'll make a note of that.
Okay.
Yeah, this was the first pass effort. How many spaces can we get, and is it enough to actually justify the cost? And it seems like it is. So now we're at step 2.
Okay. Thank you for coming early.
Great. All right. Thank you.
All right, next in was Ashley's iPhone. And I am not seeing Ashley's iPhone here. We may come back. Next in was Mr. Iser.
I'm here for Quinlan's continuation and possibly somebody else, but I don't have anything just for me.
Okay. Next in was Mr. Reedy.
I might be the possibly somebody else.
Okay.
I've been called worse things.
You and me both, Mark. So I'm here for 2 things. I think the first thing, Randy is here with me on Hampshire Mall. I had sent in the ANR plan that Randy's office had done. This was one that we had, I think, brought before you before, looking to carve out Chase and Trader Joe's into separate lots. We had brought it before and discussed the idea of a variance, and we were not well received with that. And so we went back to the drawing board and came up with 2 compliant lots and some additional easement area onto the mall site to allow for sufficient parking for particularly Trader Joe's. I think that was a lot of the comments that we got was make sure you have sufficient parking for Trader Joe's. So it's twofold. So not only are we asking for the ANR endorsement, but we are also, because, and I'll share my screen to kind of walk you through. Here are the 2 lots, lot 1 Trader Joe's, lot 2 Chase Bank. Building square, frontage, parking, and then some additional easement area parking here in this area for Trader Joe's, and also here, which is technically on the Chase lot, but it's Trader Joe's parking. And so the access, as you we all know, that the access was a little further north and then has been moved further south as part of the South Maple Street reconstruction. And so we would be, and what I've submitted is a special permit asking for approval, and we'll have to obviously go through the hearing, but for access over something other than our lawful frontage. So we'd be coming in through here just as it is now. So nothing is proposed to change. It's really just lines on a plan. The idea here is, so as you probably all know, there was a foreclosure auction. The lender acquired it and they currently own it. One of the things that they're trying to do is reduce their debt load. They would prefer not to sell this to a mall consolidator who just buys malls and squeezes all the juice out and then sells it off or discards it. So, obviously I can't promise that if you allow this and grant the special permit that it'll ultimately go to local hands, the mall, but from my conversations with Spinoso, who is the asset manager here, it's the best shot we have to reducing the debt load, to making it somewhat manageable, to some sort of reuse with the mall at some point in the future. As far as parking goes, the way I've always understood it is it's not just the 9x18 or 10x20 spaces. It's also that area in between, because of the way we calculate parking is at 2 to 1. If that's the way you calculate it, these both comply. If you're just counting the spaces, then this lot 2 is going to be 2,000 square feet deficient. And so I think, I don't want to put Randy on the spot to say this is totally compliant, because I think we wanted to get that read. But then otherwise, Randy, I don't know if you've got any thoughts, comments, et cetera, on this one.
Well, I agree with you, Tom, that it's the parking area is not just the parking spaces. I just don't know in this situation what the board is going to allow. So we just need to have that discussion this evening and figure out where to add the additional stuff at a parking area. And I'm sure it will comply, but we've got to just make sure the board agrees with us on that note.
Good, Randy, finish. Okay. Typically, drive aisles between parking spaces are considered part of the parking area. So Mr. Reedy is correct. Attorney Reedy is correct.
The bylaw does require that the parking be on the parcel, however. So I know you have adequate parking for Trader Joe's with your easements, but do you have 20,000 square feet of parking area on lot 1?
It's a good question. I think we'd have to calculate. I'm seeing 3, 6, maybe 9, 12. So once we do that, well, that's not even on our lot, actually. So we might not. And so, Bill, the solution there would be to probably extend the lot line further south. I'll zoom in just a little bit so we can see, right? So we would have to just bring this down a little bit, and it would just be fee simple ownership instead of an easement, which again, at this point, the mall owns all of it. So if there's a time to do it, now's the time to do it. So,
Okay.
I think we can update that pretty simply, and then I'd love to ask you for a vote now, but this seems a little bit incomplete. So maybe we wait for the next meeting, finalize it, and then submit it as a final, and then get that endorsement. And then I guess the other piece would be marking us up for hearing for the access over something other than our frontage special permit.
So consider whether this should be done as some sort of a subdivision instead. I don't know if did you ever resolve the question I raised about whether your access onto that part of Route 9 was illusory? Did Mass Highway ever render a ruling?
I think if we have to look at no, we haven't got from them something saying absolutely not. And if so, I'd probably push them in this hypothetical, because we're just talking about a hypothetical. I don't know if that's a condition precedent for you to make that ruling and to get something from them.
Well, it's sort of relevant to the question of do you qualify for a Form A approval not required subdivision if your access onto the abutting way is illusory? What we did diagonally across the street with the Home Depot mall was create a paper subdivision that went down the main road. And that allowed, I think it was Firestone wanted to own its own parcel. So that would be another option.
So if DOT says, I don't care how hypothetical you're talking about, there's no way we would allow you access here for X, Y, or Z reason, whether it's proximity to the light, whether it's wetlands, whether it's whatever it is, then we would have Randy probably bring in that paper street subdivision on this existing road here, which would Yee. Maybe you have to dead end it here. I mean, Randy, we'd have to probably think about what that's gonna look like, just so it's not spanning two sides of the roadway.
Well, it's gonna get interesting because if they're not gonna allow you frontage on Route 9, then you're gonna have frontage on the new street. So it's not going to be able to dead end where you're talking, Tom. It's gonna have to continue into the Trader Joe's lot, and then you're gonna have a front yard setback issue.
Yeah.
This is gonna get really interesting.
Although you could bring your, well, you have trouble meeting the square from a paper street.
Yeah.
It looks
Well,
like you could pick up more frontage by moving your property line that's perpendicular to South Maple Street could move down a little bit and give you frontage on a new street.
For lot 2, Bill, but lot 1 is
Lot
gonna
2.
be a problem.
Yeah.
Especially, I think the setback's a good point, Randy, once we're talking about the frontage is gonna be here and then,
Although, remember, this is just going to be a paper street,
Okay.
so,
We still have to meet the front yard setback, Bill.
yeah.
Just question, what's behind Florence?
question, let me.
I'd say that's wet in there.
I think that's true.
I
Let me see if I've got,
think people do cross, but there's a,
Yeah, there's a bit of a ditch there, or depression, maybe a better way to say it.
Is that
Yeah,
between?
that is a wetland, jurisdictional wetland.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll have to figure out whether this subdivision road's gonna work, but in the meantime, while this picture is there, how much of that blacktop would be counted towards parking?
Blacktop where?
Around the Trader Joe's building.
Wouldn't
So
everything
we've
to
got
the
parking
west?
area, but then we've got all this
Well,
road that goes
the
around
area
it.
around the back of the building is obviously not a parking area. But I would say that front area
Yeah.
is virtually all parking area.
Okay, because we might be able to get it out there, and then if push comes to shove, we can put some spaces along the outside of that track around the building
Yeah.
if it doesn't impede any trucks or anything like that.
okay, that's good thinking, Randy. Okay.
So is this gonna, Tom, is this gonna be completely, these two parcels independent of the mall totally?
As independent as they can get for ownership, so not yet, but that's, I think, the plan, Joe.
Okay, gotcha. So that will help them reduce the bankruptcy. I got it.
You got it. You got it. There'll still be like cross easements and all of that stuff because they're interconnected, sewer, water, access, but fee simple, they'd be looking to carve them out.
And then there is a provision for reduced parking requirement, but does that involve TDR automatically?
If you need to use reduced parking area, that would be TDR, yeah.
Okay. And do you know what the current rate is for TDR acre?
Boy, no, I don't. Not at the top of my head. I don't know, maybe Kayla might know it.
but honestly, the demand for Trader Joe's is such that it would be hard pressed to give them less.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand, Bill, but I mean, what we're doing here, no matter how we do this, is playing a game. So
Right.
if we can make it all work and fall under the guise of the bylaw, then however we get there, I guess. However you guys feel comfortable doing it. I understand that you've got to think about it.
We could do TDR with guaranteed easement for additional parking, I suppose.
Yeah,
It's
one
not-
way or the other, they're gonna have the easement. They're very well aware they need the space. So they're not trying to cut back on any parking. We're just trying to make this lot configuration work.
Yeah. All right, so Randy and I will put our heads together. And so then I guess we table that access over something other than our frontage until we figure out this other piece, because if it's a subdivision road, then we have frontage and we're accessing over it, right?
Right.
Okay, thanks, Randy. So that was the first one. Second one, I'm just gonna go across the street. And I'll share my screen again, just simply, and then more in depth in a moment, to this parcel here at the corner. So I'm working with Bank of America, who is looking to be sited at this corner. I guess when Chase comes to town, Bank of America follows. And so we're not yet submitting. I just want to talk about I'm going to show you the plans high level, talk about one thing, get whatever feedback you have, and then we'd be looking to submit. No, not this Friday, the Friday before your next, I think the meeting on the 18th. So whatever that is, 14th, might be the date. So this is the parcel that we're talking about. And
Is
then
that the
I'll share-
Verizon building, Tom?
No, I think Vision Showcase and maybe it was AT&T.
Oh, yeah, okay,
If memory
Yeah.
serves, right,
Yeah.
right in this piece
okay.
here. There's not going to be too many changes. It's kind of like if you looked at that, you'll see that the layout is going to really be conducive to what we're going to show you. Let me show you.
Just wrapping up the last one, is there a street address for South Maple Ave?
The South Maple Street, the Chase and the Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
I don't know it.
I don't think there really is because nothing was assigned because they're part of the mall presently.
Okay, so I'll share this so you can see. I'll do this one first. I'll scroll up so you can see. So if you can see my screen, this is the proposed bank with the drive-through essentially in the same location that the Vision Showcase AT&T building is. They're actually reducing the total amount of parking there and reducing, so increasing the open space, reducing some of the pavement. Building is located right here, a little shy of 4,000 square feet. ATM, drive-through ATM is located over here. They've got, a couple spaces shown, but it can obviously go back a significant amount before we would even be impacting this drive. And I think from bank operations, they're not expecting that. One of the questions I have is as to signage. The freestanding sign, I think is 3 feet. They're going to reuse that freestanding sign. I think just reface it with Bank of America. I believe it's internally illuminated. I think they're going to keep with that. There's going to be some wall signage on the building, but there's also going to be signage on the ATM. And I guess my question is, for the sign package, are we going to include the ATM in what the total the total wall signage on the site can be, or is the ATM something separate?
Is this a new building or are we doing what's there, Tom?
It's a great question, Jim. You know what? I don't know. I think it's a new building. Let me bring up the other plans.
You think they're there?
You can make the building smaller. It appears I'd have to tear it down and put a new one in.
Yeah, I would think so. And it looks like, there's just an internal floor plan. That's exterior.
What's the aerial look like of the existing?
Existing area. Let me see. I don't know that. And that's one of the plans that I've asked for from them is just a footprint of existing and then.
Regarding the signage for the ATMs, without seeing an idea of what they're talking, we really can't give you an answer because we could consider it directional if it's just some little sign. When
It'll say Bank of America and it'll have that Bank of America logo, I think on the
Yeah,
front
that's
and the back.
Look.
Yeah,
Signage, huh?
that's what I figured.
little to them maybe big to us.
That's true. That's true.
Relative.
That's true. And I talked to them about signing no internal illumination. I think backlit is the way that they're going to go. I don't know that I have it.
Parking, Tom, it's gonna be tough. Right now, people are using that place all the way to along the front of Russell Street.
For the adjacent uses, you're saying?
Yes,
Oh, yeah, especially with the restaurants next door.
Yeah.
exactly correct. But
Okay.
they're not gonna have a huge car park situation.
Yeah.
Bank is not a big parking requirement, and they're usually short term, so it's not that much of a, when AT&T was there usually wasn't a problem with the parking, and I don't think they're gonna be much higher traffic usage or parking required than what maybe the AT&T was. If there was another restaurant being proposed there, that would be a different story.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So one factor, and you might ask them to just get some numbers pulled together on it. That would be one of the few Bank of America drive-through options that I'm aware of in the area. Most of their facilities do not have drive-throughs. So I don't know whether that is just going to be a casual add-on or is going to be a big traffic generator because there's no other place to go.
And also,
Isn't the ATM in front of Trader Joe's a Bank of America
It is.
It is.
It is.
disappear?
I don't know. That's another good question.
also, is this parking going to be considered as part of the mall parking, or is it going to be considered as an individual study when it comes to us?
Yeah, I think they've got, let me see if I can get to the data. I think they're calculating it as total part of the Mountain Farms Mall. Like they did a calculation with, here, and I'll show you this quickly here. Well, they've done this
Okay.
calculation where they've done it all out and they're actually reducing the parking required, parking area purchased in the special permit, deficient parking area. So it looks like they don't owe anything, but that's something for me to confirm with them. But to answer your question, Joe, yeah, it's part of the entirety of the mall site.
Yeah, just looking at the site, just repeating what Bill said, the flow of the drive-through is something that's could be critical. It's already tight in and out of there from South Maple into there.
Kishore, what can we get you folks to make you feel comfortable with that layout? I mean, these guys, they're good. They're very professional. If we ask them for something, they provide it. You know, this isn't their first rodeo. So I just want to, if you need something, I'm happy to get it.
Just, the basic plans with what their flow and what their proposal is, I think,
Okay.
for the drive-through.
Well, you're right, Kishore. They should probably have a separate entrance to their drive up rather than use that very narrow driveway between the two buildings as it is now. So, well, they'll figure it out.
Okay. Any other thoughts, comments on this one?
It's gonna be a tight dance.
Yes. All right, thanks. We'll go back. I got a call with them tomorrow. I'm gonna relay all of these comments and then we'll hopefully gussy up plans and submit them in a couple of weeks. Okay. Thanks as always, guys.
Okay, next in was Charlene Gallica.
Hi. I'm not too familiar with Zoom meetings. But I have just a question about the planning board. And I've spoken to Randy Iser and Jim Maximowski, and I appreciate all their time. Before I go any further, I just had an idea of when I bought my house we built our house in 91. It's 21 Grand Oak Farm Road. Later on, we bought an extra lot that was on the left side of our house. It was open space, and quite a while now, we've just had like a corral area and 2 shuttling. And I was thinking about how 29 Grand Oak Farm, that was open space, that after the covenants all expired, they built a house on. I know they bought additional land. And so my granddaughter and I have been coming up with different ideas. Her and her family right now, they live in Belchertown, but she'd love to someday live here. And so I was thinking of a way I could build a ranch house on that lot, and my granddaughter and her family could take over my house. I know, but I was thinking about the ADU. When I actually saw how small 900 square feet is, it's pretty small, especially, and I'm not clear on the ADUs. If you have a basement, does that count against your square footage? Like,
As long as it's unfinished, it does not.
oh, okay, perfect. Even then, boy, if it could even be like 1,200 square feet, gives you a little bit more space. So anyhow, I thought, well, maybe I'll see if it's possible to make that pony lot a building lot. And that's when I was looking in the information on the zoning, and it said how with a special permit, the width could be reduced to 75% of the minimum width, which I think is 150. And when I was trying to go on the GIS mapping, it looked like I could have 150 feet on 3 sides. It's only one side that it would go down to the 112 because of the way the road curves. And I'm like, maybe I don't have a chance at all, but I thought at least I'd ask.
Well, we can't give you much help without some plans.
I do have some pictures and different things. Not 100% sure how to share them.
Bill, did you get that thing I sent today?
Today.
Yeah.
Had a closing today, so I was not looking at.
Okay. So just so you guys remember, I broached this with you several weeks ago, and you at the time you said get me a plan. So I realized Charlene was going to be on tonight, and I figured I better at least try. So whether you can access it or not, I can show you, or I did show on this plan what this would look like.
I could try and hit the share button and then see if because I think I saved it on my desktop. Should I try that?
Well, let me see. Let me bring this up.
That's it. So the lot in blue with the 21 in it is their house lot. The lot in green is what she refers to as the pony lot, which was and still is considered open space. But as Charlene said, the covenants have expired. And so the open space is not necessarily, doesn't have to remain open space. The black 2 lines you see are what a 150-foot square would look like, with one edge up against 21 lot. And I've given you dimensions over everything, and you'd have to cut it down 124.78 to get to the edge of the road. And as she said, the minimum you can do is 75%, which I believe is 112 something or other. So this potentially would comply with that bylaw as long as Charlene applied for a special permit. And I believe that she's just here to get a feel for how the board might react to that.
Okay, little bit of history for the board. Way back in 1977, I believe, was when the 150 by 150 foot square bylaw amendment was passed. 1 point must touch the road. And then in 1998, that section of the law was amended to include, or that, I will read what was improved in 1977. Width is defined such that a 150 foot by 150 foot square must be able to fit into the plan of a total lot, and at least 1 point of that square must lie on the frontage line. That was the original 1977 bylaw. In 1998, it was amended then at no point between the front lot line and the rear of the principal structure, parentheses, said rear being the farthest point of the structure from the front lot line, into parentheses, located on the lot, being the far, on the lot, shall the lot have a width less than the minimum lot width required, except that the planning board may, but not as required, to issue a special permit as provided in section 5B2 to permit lot width of no less than 75% of the minimum lot width required when, in its judgment, such action is in the public interest and not inconsistent with the intent of the zoning bylaw. This section does not apply to flag lots, etc., but that we don't have flag lots anymore. That was the amendment in 1998. I know why we put in the first part about lot width shall be consistent from the front lot line to the rear of the structure, but I'm not quite sure where the reduction of the 7 or the 150 foot square came in. To be honest, we've never utilized that, and I have no idea what it means that such action is in the public interest and not inconsistent with the intent of this zoning bylaw. That's kind of I honestly don't know what that statement means.
So remind me, when this subdivision was laid out, what were we still at 150 foot lot frontage?
Yes,
No.
Okay.
Yes or no, Randy?
yes.
Yes, we were.
We were, okay. So when and how much frontage does the open space have?
200 and something.
Okay,
But the 150 by 150 square was in effect at the time of this subdivision approval and application.
Correct.
okay.
And, okay. So I'm open to, I don't know what in the public interest means. That's kind of a very gray statement. It certainly doesn't mean that an additional lot can be created, because then what good is the 150 by 150 square? Because all over the place, you would get an extra building lot and get a little bit extra taxes. So the 150 by 150 square statement would virtually be useless. So it's going to have some meaning besides that.
And so wouldn't a building lot also have to have, how much, what's the square footage? This is in the aquifer, if I'm correct.
Right. So it does need 40,000 square feet. So Charlene will, if this part of the equation will get approved, then she's going to approach one of her neighbors behind to see if they will be willing to sell her the additional square footage she needs to make the 40,000.
And I did talk to one neighbor. Unfortunately, Mr. Yarrow in the back isn't interested, because then that would solve my problem for the 150. But
If you could purchase 25 and a quarter square foot going back, you would have your 150 by 150 square.
yes, so I did ask him, and he said no, fortunately. But I did talk to my other neighbor on the left side, and they would be willing to sell me enough land to make the 40,000 square feet.
But not in, but it's in a place, Bill, Jim, where she couldn't get the additional 25 feet she needs to make that 150-foot box fit in there.
I mean, I honestly don't see in the public good here.
Well-
Okay, I'm not sure where what that statement came, when it came, I'm not sure why that statement was put into this amendment in 1998. I look back in the records, and there's really no details on that I could find on how it was implemented, why it came into play. I know why the front lot line being or the width being consistent all the way to the rear of the principal structure came in. But I'm not sure where the allowing a 75% reduction on the lot width came in. I don't know if anybody else remembers, Joe or Bill.
I don't remember, but the fact is, if a house is going to be built just on that square, that without the additional property, that's where a lot of the problems initiated. That all of a sudden somebody said, well, I want to put an addition onto the house. And then you're infringing on a side yard or a backyard or a front yard or a deck or something like that. So any additions used to make it almost impossible, and they'd have to go to the zoning board of appeals. And so that's why the 150 was initiated. So that's what I remember, but I don't remember in the common good.
I suppose that would go to the question of whether someone is just trying to shoehorn one more house onto a street that lacks, that has insufficient infrastructure to support it. If it was on sewer, for example, or if the water mains are not adequate to provide pressure in there, those would all be factors.
So what would be the frontage if that additional property would be purchased, Randy?
So the frontage would not change. She's going to have to buy it basically behind there's a lot line, let's say in the middle of where I've got the 150 on the back green line.
Yeah.
There's a lot line that goes up the page there. And then, so she would get property from there over behind her house lot and to get to the 40,000. But the frontage of the lot is close to 200. It might be a little bit more than 200. I don't remember. Everything else we would have to comply with. We would have to comply with the front yard setback, the rear yard setback, the side yard setbacks. So the only thing that she would really be asking for is this reduction in the width. Everything else would comply once she talked to her neighbor and we got that figured out.
I'd like you to check the frontages of both lots, because I'm thinking that when if the property was in common ownership when the zoning changed from 150 to 175, there was a limited time before a merger. Now you might have enough room there to have two lots. You'd have to give up 75 feet from the open space to add on to number 21. And then would you still have 175 on the open space?
Well, if it's in the aquifer, we need 200.
Oh, 200, yeah.
Here comes something interesting, and I believe Kyle is still here, that he can either tell me I know what I'm talking about or I'm losing my mind. But I believe the new ADU laws will allow you to build up to 1,800 or 1,850 square foot house on a lot like this, and it would cancel out the need to merger. So basically they're saying you can throw away the merger if you build an 1,800 square foot or less house, no more than 3 bedrooms on this lot that would need to be merged in the past.
Okay, I don't recall that as being part of the ADU legislation, but
Yeah, that's new to me, Randy, but I'm happy to double check you on that.
Okay.
I don't recall reading anything about lot mergers in that.
I know I read it somewhere. I
Okay.
don't remember where. I hope it wasn't in a nightmare last night.
Well, it could have been something that came out of the MBA to communities legislation.
Yeah, I know I saw it somewhere because I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. So anyhow, we'll do some digging on that. But assuming that's reality, again, the issue would be, is it appropriate to allow for this reduced width?
From my one point of view, I'm gonna have to say no. Because I don't see in the public good.
Okay.
My 2 cents. I don't know if
Anybody else have 2 cents they want to kick into the pot?
I'd concur with Jim because this is gonna open up a whole can of worms, and people are gonna be wanting to come in and make adjustments. And they say, well, it's in the public good. But I think first we have to look up, what is the state, will they impose something on us? So before we make any decision, I think that's what we have to find out.
Yeah, I think there are some unanswered questions here, and some of them may not be answered until someone decides to take someone else to court. Hopefully it won't be us. We'll let someone else fight it out and learn from.
Yeah.
Okay.
Attorney Dwyer, what in your informal thoughts would be in the better, in the good of the town? Would that be making a bad situation better? But we don't have a bad situation.
Or where I'm looking at it from now is that these two properties do not support two lots under current zoning.
Yeah.
They would support, certainly under the ADU, you could put up a second, you put up an ADU on one property or consider it merged and put it up on both properties. But if Randy has something, if you want to dig up what you think you saw, that would be interesting.
Okay, I'll see if I can find it.
I would say I don't have, I'm leaning towards it probably not working in this configuration. But I don't want to say no way if there is a way. So.
Okay, and I'm just gonna throw this out there. Is in the public good raising tax revenues based on our current situation?
Not in my opinion, because then every house that applied for this would fall into that in the public good.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. All right, well, I will look into this ADU non-merger situation I brought up, see if I can find it again. And we'll come back and we can talk about that, but it doesn't sound like it's going to matter for this. I think you guys have pretty well said that you don't want this to fly, so. But I'll look it up anyhow for something that might come up in the future.
Thank you.
If I could say, I just wanted to thank you for your time. And boy, if there can, somebody else was talking about, being able, mentioning something in the state about a larger ADU. And that would be wonderful because this is just going to be us as family. So that's the only reason I was thinking of trying to make it a separate lot, was just to build something bigger. And the neighbor that originally I was going to buy land from behind my house, that property, she's under contract now with somebody else. And so it was my neighbors to the left. And so that actually would give me more frontage, because I would be buying maybe 25 feet additional frontage. If I just assume do the ADU, if it could be bigger, that'd be wonderful. But irregardless, I thank you all for your time.
Well,
You're welcome.
the story's not over.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, next in was Heather McKenzie.
Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi, I'm here on behalf of Sunshine Sign Company. We had spoke at the last meeting regarding signage at 333 Venture Way.
Yes.
Okay, so we have come back with the reduced size for the exterior building ID. So if you want, I can go ahead and show that to you.
What?
Okay, so I believe last time we said that the max square footage allowed was 64 square feet. So we've gone ahead and reduced the size. So now it's only taking up 60 square feet.
Okay, and the signs on the building are not internally illuminated, or are they?
Nope, no illumination at all.
No illumination.
Yep, they're just painted letters, stud bolted to the exterior.
And the pylon sign in the front is there already?
Yes, so you can see that one here is this metal sign that's existing. Yep, so the new one would go on the existing foundation. It'll just be lag bolted into the existing concrete, so we don't need to do any digging, any excavation. We'll use the existing foundation.
That would replace the metal sculpture?
Yes, yeah, the one that's here currently would go. And again, no illumination.
How does that work out for, how does this sign work out for square footage?
So it's 66 by
Roughly,
Looks like 2.5 by 5.5 feet.
no, 66 by 72, that's like 5 feet by 7, it's like.
No, it's 31 by probably.
Oh, 30,
It's 31 vertical by probably.
So the 31 is this white
66.
panel here. 36 would be this outer diameter.
so roughly 18 square feet.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve revised plans.
There is, and then there is one additional. This is also replacing an existing. Again, it's just 18. So this is just to tell the delivery drivers where to turn into their lot.
I don't think we would count the top part, just the logo part, right?
I think that's fine as as a directional sign anyway.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Did we word the motion? I guess we.
Motion to approve revised plans.
Yeah, okay. Did we have a second?
Motion and second. Any other discussions? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Dunn, aye.
Dwyer, aye.
Maximovsky, aye.
Harmar, aye.
Roddick, aye.
Motion passes 5-0. We're all set. Thank you very much.
Did you,
Awesome. Thank you, gentlemen.
had you sent me these plans?
You should have them. Yes, I believe they were submitted last week.
Okay, I seem to recall that they were, and I think I sent them around when they came in. If you can't find
Yeah,
them,
he
Jim, let
spoke
me
to
know.
Kayla yesterday
know
and
I
she
have 'em.
confirmed. But we can resend if you would like as well.
Who would have sent it?
His name is Bill Cook, Kuck.
Well, I forwarded it, so it probably would have come from me.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Chair, would you just make sure Jim gets a copy? Thank you. Okay, full of other folks here. Doug Sorrell, are you here for one of the public hearings?
Yes, I am. I'm here for 415 River Road.
Okay, and we had someone who just said iPhone. I guess they are no longer with us. And Felicia Seymour. Well, I let her in. I guess she is no longer with us. So, okay, I guess that brings us to Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. Or do we want to just add?
Let's get Mr. Kyle, because the PVPC takes priority over the public hearings, in my opinion. Mr. Klein, you're all set.
Thank you, gentlemen. You've been busy while I've been away, so happy to be back with you. Tonight, I think I've got a couple of quick updates on our work plan for the Hadley Planning Board Assistance. And I think the most of our time can be spent on, if Jim, if you want to, the research, the kind of investigating I did on the topic of extended stay hotel motel. Not that I was able to find a lot of information for you, because it's not a very common concept that I found in zoning in the region, but we can talk to that for a little bit. And then we have a bit of an update on the 40R project, because we're kind of entering a new phase of that, and taking a hiatus for the month while I get some more work done. So do you want to talk about extended stay hotels?
I think we can put off the extended stay hotels for our next meeting. I don't want to drag this out any longer than we have to, but that's not a high priority for today. But at least we can hit the other ones, Kyle.
Okay, yeah. So so happy to circle back to that, and I can do a little bit more digging if that would be helpful. Just let me know. I think then really we just got a quick update for you on the 40R project, and then the additional research that we're doing for the parking study. You'd asked for some research on parking standards, comparing what you've got currently on the books with other communities. So started to do that, looking into Greenfield, starting there, where they have created a bit more detailed parking requirements. I just had it pulled up, so bear with me. I'm trying to consolidate all of this into a quick little report so that we can summarize, what is different in other communities. And we're also looking at 40R breakdown, because 40R, and this will lead into that update, 40R requirements from the state is that while the local parking minimums can remain, the 40R district must establish a top end, a maximum. There's also additional encouragements for shared parking, and the location of parking being to the side or the rear of buildings. So we're working with the steering committee trying to talk through that. So we had given them kind of a proposal, and forgive me, I don't have that pulled up, but we'd given them a proposal. They'd asked for further research, so we're tying that into the total parking project, research project. So there's going to be a lot of tables of comparison that I'll be sending around in the coming weeks so that you'll be able to break that down. I'll try to make it as concise and legible as possible, but it gets a little confusing. But most communities kind of break it down by use. Greenfield, for example, only requires one parking space, off-street parking space per residential dwelling. And then it starts to go from there. So businesses have different parking requirements based on the type of use, the type of commercial or business use. So I'm going to be creating a kind of a large table of comparison to help everybody understand that. And within each table, there will be a 40R example so that you can see how that changes in a smart growth zoning district.
Kyle,
yeah.
on that note, would I be wrong to say that the state's maximum or ceiling on required parking would actually be below our minimum floor of ceiling? As I recall, it was extremely low compared to our 2-to-1.
No, I wouldn't say so.
Okay.
Mark, I think the numbers that we initially put in were kind of starting points for discussion. The state really doesn't give us numbers. They just make it very clear that there has to be a maximum articulated in the bylaw. And there are more commonly communities are approaching parking minimums as they're approaching parking requirements, and typically communities are starting to look at minimums more as maximums, as kind of a simple, elegant change to address an abundance of parking without doing a lot of work on bylaw revision and kind of creating some cohesion with existing parking and future parking. So I'm hoping to articulate some of those kind of common trends that are emerging, because parking is something that a lot of communities are working on.
Now, quick question on the 40R parking. Is that for strictly the residential section, or is that including all businesses, et cetera?
Businesses, et cetera. So yeah, so it's irregardless of use. It's, you know, a maximum has to be articulated. Either it's for the residential, strictly residential, or the mixed use, or strictly business, commercial. And again, the 40R permits a community to maintain parking minimums that exist across the town. So
we could alter it.
Yeah, you could always alter that to be more local, or you could say, you know, you're going to stay at the minimum, or you're going to allow for a lower threshold. What is stressed, though, is, again, the location of parking and encouragement of shared parking lots. And they prescribe ways to kind of determine what is the appropriate number of spaces for those shared lots. So we're wrapping up, working on that research, trying to package it off in a more digestible format, because it's a lot of information, a lot of numbers, and comparing communities, Hadley to others, and then including that 40R element. So if there's no other questions about parking or other thoughts about parking, quick update on 40R project. We're at a point now where we've kind of brought all of the topics to the steering committee that we are needing some guidance or direction on. The remaining elements of the draft bylaw, by and large, upon our review of other communities, it really comes directly from the state. It's the purpose statements, it's the administration, the procedural things. it's about half of the bylaw is just kind of standard language. So we decided that upon consulting the steering committee, we would take November off and reconvene in December so that we can clean up the working document, make it a little bit easier to get through because there's a lot of notes and added context. And that gives us a little bit of time to bring some questions to the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, the state office that administers the 40R program. I've got a short list of questions, particularly about we had some questions about affordability, I believe, and then we also had some outstanding questions about age restrictions, or how to address, or if it's possible to address the concerns with renting to college students. I also have some outstanding questions about the delineation of the district. I'm worried that aligning the district with the existing business commercial zone may not fly from the HLC's perspective, because the district crosses property lines and doesn't follow parcel lines. I'm worried that they're going to require the delineation to follow parcel lines. So that's something to clarify. So we'll be able to clarify those details and bring those back to the steering committee in December. The hope is that by the end of December, we've addressed all of these sections that are really built upon public input and guidance from the steering committee, so that in January we can focus on design standards, and that's our last big hurdle in terms of writing the bylaw. The hope is that then the bylaw is really crafted based on public engagement from earlier this year in the survey from 2024 and guidance from our resident volunteers on the steering committee, so that by February you have kind of a community-driven effort to craft this zoning bylaw. And then it's ready for you all to take a look at a nearly final form and consider either another public engagement event to clarify some things, or even push forward with a public hearing.
So
I haven't, oh, yeah.
I was just going to say, based on what you said, it sounds like it will be tight to make it an early May annual town meeting.
Well,
I was curious what the time, I haven't seen the schedule yet, so I was curious if you all had it for me.
I think it's usually the first Thursday of May.
First Thursday?
That is correct.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Bill.
Kyle, good thing Randy is here there, because there's one thing that has not been addressed by the 40R committee is this sewer capacity. Hadley right now is we're permitted for 540,000 gallons per day, and we're at 420,000 gallons per day. So we're 80% capacity of our sewer. If we do put in the BAB property, and then the housing property that's going to be going next to the library that will be coming back, and then of course the Route 9 zoning with the Hadley Village Barn area, if those apartments go in, and we have proposed a study to, because somebody realizes that we are running up against the maximum of sewer use. So we've got to be cautious that we don't permit many things and run into a sewer capacity where we don't have the capacity. As Amherst did, for example, Amherst, the town of Amherst, when Paparazzo was putting that development in Echo Hill, they were putting a couple of hundred houses a year, and all of a sudden they realized they didn't have sewer. So after dramatic research, the Amherst put a bigger sewer plant in the town of Hadley. So it is a regional sewer plant. So the plan at the town meeting was to extend or divert the sewer from the bike path crossing next to where Texas Roadhouse is, all the way to the Amherst line, and that would give us at least some wiggle room for capacity for more apartments. And we got to find out how much zone will be attributed to the apartments, how much do apartments use for sewer. And so if we're up against it and people are looking for a study, we've got to be cautious.
We appreciate that, Joe. You're right. We haven't gotten too detailed in really calculating the proposed or expected future zoned units. So
Either. So
yeah. So what we did at our last meeting with the steering committee is we actually kind of drew working boundaries for these districts. Again, reminding the board that the steering committee has decided based on public input, looking at 2 areas of town, and one in the east, more towards the Amherst town line, not all the way up to the Amherst town line, and then one more to the west, really kind of in the village center of town. So we're going to start using these preliminary boundaries to start calculating, based on those areas, how many added units could you expect if you were to enact a 40R zone. It's part of the required materials for an application to HLC is to have that map and have those numbers included. So we're going to start doing that work over November and completing it before January so that we can have a better sense of, realistically it's X amount of units added, if we were to change the zoning. The working kind of boundaries, again, this is strictly the business zone along Route 9. So in the west, we're working with the business district from, I think we're focusing on West Street to East Street. So that would include the railroad, or I'm sorry if that's the proper term, the name.
I think you said to the east, but you're talking about the west district?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, in the western district would be West Street to East Street along Route 9, including Railroad Street. And then the East District, we're looking at the business zone, again, along Route 9, just the business zone from North and South Maple up to, I believe it's the intersection with 116 and Westgate Terrace, and then following some lot lines or south along Westgate Terrace around to exclude a couple of things. So that's kind of where we're looking at, starting to do our calculations of future zoned dwellings and how much added density you could expect following the 40R rules.
And I would say that I've been advocating for, if you call them the east and the west overlays, that the west overlay would have its own design guidelines that was looking more residential, more what the planners call the missing middle duplex, triplex, kind of fits in with the houses already there, whereas the eastern district is more of a commercial district, and that would allow a little more density and size.
And Joe, to your point, if this bylaw passes, it's not going to be a by right. You're still going to have to go through the process like we do now. We have site plan approval and all that. So we can certainly keep track of sewer capacity and decide if it's not appropriate because we don't have the capacity.
Oh, that, I'm not sure, because in Northampton, Bill could correct me. Just because you don't have capacity doesn't mean we can't build it. You've got to supply the capacity. That's,
That's for down the road.
yeah, exactly correct.
Thank you, Kyle.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, so a lot of work to be done in the coming weeks. We're hoping to reconvene the steering committee not too late into December. We know that the holiday season picks up for everybody. So trying to get as much done in November so that we can get people plenty of time to review what will be most of a draft bylaw minus the design standards. So again, Mark was speaking to the fact that, you know, we're imagining 2 districts that will hopefully blend into kind of the existing built environment, but also look in ways very appropriate to what how Hadley pictures itself. The building heights will be different in the east versus the west. We still haven't clarified kind of the maximum from the fire chief's perspective. Primarily, that is an issue for the eastern district because it will abut kind of the industrial zone, and there is a greater maximum height. We just want to confirm that. But I expect that the West District will really, the design standards will relate to the Village Center design standards that are already adopted. That's kind of will be our starting point when we think about building facade, roof lines, those types of characteristics. We'll be looking at the existing Village Center design standards as a starting point, a starting reference.
Good. Changing the subject slightly, could I just, we could get an update about where we left the permitting guide?
I believe the permitting guide was ready to go. I think I sent it off to Kayla.
Yeah, I have the file package.
Okay. Yeah, I think we had gotten everything up to date, and I believe the building commissioner had looked at it and given a thumbs up on everything. So, yeah.
Okay.
I think outstanding. We do need to circle back to standard conditions, Bill. I think we're going to drop that one.
And then that ties into the planning board rules and regulations.
Yeah, I think that was the outstanding task for the rules and regs. I think we were also talking about planning board implementation. And I think that's kind of a next year topic. But I will share that we're trying to get the DLTA grant opportunities that PVPC administers. We're trying to announce that earlier this year. So hopefully in the coming weeks, I think our working date is the 17th of November to announce that funding opportunity. We are changing that process just a little bit so that the application will be a little bit more in depth. But that's just so that we can try to better prioritize those projects and get better budgets kind of set up for those so we can do better work. I still think the implementation update would be a worthwhile application for the board if you're looking for support in doing that in the coming year.
What was that again, Matt? Kyle?
That's the DLTA projects, the funding opportunity that we provide. That's for the planning board, the master plan implementation. So going back and reviewing that implementation table, bringing things up to date, and just bringing everybody back to the table,
Okay.
make progress there.
It's about due for an update anyways, I believe.
It's getting close. Yeah, you may be thinking about that. Also, remind me, how old is the housing production plan? It's probably
2 or 3 years.
it's
3 to
just
5
2 or
years.
3. If it's
5
getting
years.
5 years old, it might be about time to be considering that as well. Yeah.
That was during COVID? Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, we might want to consider getting that done. I'll double check those dates, but I can forward that information. That announcement will come to you, Bill and Jim. You'll likely get that email when that opportunity opens up.
Okay. So are you good to come back on Tuesday, December 2nd?
Happy to. I will prioritize that parking study and that document. And if I've got time, I'll try to get some attention on the standard conditions, but we're a little understaffed currently. I don't know if everyone's aware, but Ken Comia is now the Director of Land Use and Environment in our agency. So he's taken on new responsibilities. There's a vacancy at the Deputy Director position. So there's a lot of slack that's been shifted around and thrown on other people. So we're a bit busy at this point, and there's a big announcement for new grants coming this week. So
Well, hopefully maybe you and I and Kayla can just circle back to the standard conditions. It turns out at our last meeting, we had 4 public hearings scheduled. I was not able to participate in 3 of them. And as a result, I read out this long litany of 3 pages of conditions, and it would have been really convenient for someone to have just said what they did end up saying. I read off the one I could participate in, and then Jim made the next motion to approve the next project upon the same terms previously incorporated by reference. But if we didn't have to do that, it would it would have been a real simplifier.
Yeah, then we'll try to squeeze that in, just because I know you still have some outstanding public hearings, and you never know, you might get another wave of applicants coming up, and
we have quite a few
yeah
going forward. So
okay, happy to field any other questions at this time, or Jim, Bill, Mark, send anything my way if you need me.
Thank you very much. You've been most helpful.
Don't leave, Kyle. Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes.
While I was listening, I was also computing, and I did find the section in the state law about the ADU non-merger situation. So Google Massachusetts ADU and lot merger, and you will get something relative to Chapter 40A, Section 6, which basically what I told you is reality, except for one thing that I was not aware of. And the lot that would be the merger lot had to have been a legal lot when it was created, and the lot on Grand Oak, it was not a legal lot, so it wouldn't qualify for this. But the law is in existence.
Okay. Thanks for that, Randy.
Randy, that was Mass ADU and lot merger?
Correct. Massachusetts ADU and lot merger is what I Googled, and I got 3 articles back quickly, 2 from towns and 1 from a law firm. And I believe they talk about Chapter 40A, Section 6.
Okay.
You want to send those links, I'll pass them around to everybody.
That means I have to figure out how to do that, Bill.
Copy the
URL.
The page, the URL.
I'll see what I can do.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you, Randy.
Certainly.
Anything else for Kyle? Nothing? Okay. We'll move on to our continued public hearings.
Thank you.
And probably the first one might be, the first one is the continuation of the Tom Quinlan subdivision off of 145. Randy? Bay Road?
Yes, yeah, that's correct, 145.
Okay, and it was basically continued. Let's see, what did I have for my notes? Oh. Something, we were looking for,
Turnaround as
Okay.
not being part of a lot.
turnaround not being part of the lot, and something that came up after the fact very recently was that the fire chief approval of the, there was 3 individual 3/4 inch water lines, 2 or 3.
Well, there's one that's going to be on the A&R lot, and then 2 would be for the subdivision lots, the 2 back lots.
And the fire chief approved from a fire prevention point of view, that was okay, and that the houses were within 500 feet of a fire hydrant. However, there is a water commissioner regulation that says that water lines cannot be run across on property other than what the property owner owns. And in the case of this subdivision, that is not the case. They would not own the property that would extend all the way to Bay Road. I notified Mr. Quinlan and Randy of that, so I wouldn't blindside him with that tonight. And I believe Randy may have a solution. I will let him explain.
Okay, so Bill, I sent that revised plan to you today as well, since I only heard about it mid-afternoon and rectified it late today. So
Yeah.
you should have that. If you could put that on the screen, please.
That's this one.
That is correct. So we'll start with the turnaround. And so we talked about this at the last meeting. I extended the road so that the turnaround would be part of the road. And I told you I was going to put a building envelope on there, and I didn't. Oh, no. But I'll do that before the final plan. That's the easy part. So Bill, if you can zoom in to where Bay Road is written on the plan, please.
Okay.
That should work. So the concern was about this, the water reg says we can't have cross-country water lines, which, as Jimmy said, you can't go over somebody else's property. So I went to see the DPW director this afternoon, and we talked about what would make the most sense for the town and comply with this regulation. So if you look above Bay Road, you're going to see a little box that says easements for water meter pit. And Bill would have to zoom in closer, but there's basically 2 10-foot square boxes in the corner of one in parcel B, one in lot 1. Those are going to be easements if necessary to put water meters in. The theory being that the town will be responsible for the water line from the water main in Bay Road to this water meter, which they require to be in a pit since it's not in somebody's house. And then from there, the lines could go up the private way to the 2 lots that they would feed in the back. And as I said, I talked with Scott. He's fine with this. To me, it gives the town the most control as to we're only going to be responsible for a 10-foot run of water line rather than a 200-foot run of water line. So he was content that this would work. And then the other lot, the A&R lot, is going to get its water off of the existing water main. It can tie right into Bay Road since it has frontage on Bay Road.
And you'll get us something from Scott.
Sure. Yeah.
Alluding to that.
Yes, that I can do that.
In writing.
Yes, sir.
What is the magic with 126 inches? You have 10.5 feet by 10.5 feet.
Say what?
Your easements are 10.5 feet by 10.5 feet.
Well-
That seems like, that's like, 27.625 inches. I mean, what do you?
What I did, Mark, was I took the two lines and I made them parallel and 10 feet from their starting lines. And because of the angles, it works out to 10.5 feet. Are you frozen or you just? Yeah, I think you're frozen.
He's frozen.
Okay. Well, that's because he's up in the clouds there.
Yeah,
It's cold up
shocked.
there.
You
Yeah,
shocked.
colder.
You shocked him, Randy.
So I believe that we've satisfied you with the turnaround and satisfied the DPW director with the water lines. And that should be the end of it. And like I said, I will put the building envelope on the plan as I promised Mr. Dunn I would do. And I will get you a letter from Mr. McCarthy stating that this is satisfactory to him as far as the water lines go.
Those were the two outstanding, the one issue and then a new one that came, those were the issues that we were continued the public hearing for. Is there anything else anybody has anything? Hearing none? Would you like to make a motion condition upon the letter from Mr. McCarthy, Mr. Dwyer,
Sure. I
and
think
revised plans?
I may give, let me stop sharing first of all. And then, I see Mark has left us.
I think he probably went to
He's
re-sign
probably
in.
going to try to
Probably on his phone.
rejoin.
It went to thaw out.
Well, I'll go ahead. Okay, this is the 11-4-5. Make a motion to approve the application for definitive subdivision based upon the following findings: general conditions, project satisfies the general purposes of the bylaw, complies with the town of Hadley subdivision regulations except as waived here. And this will be, according to the plans, Gwen's Way by Harold Eaton. And what was was today the revision date for that?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry about that, Randy. You were telling me something and I kicked the cord and unplugged my computer.
Well,
Oh,
we've moved on to the motion. I'll start it again.
okay.
So it's a motion to approve the application based upon the following findings. General finding is that it complies with the subdivision control law and the town's subdivision regulations, except as waived herein. Work will be done according to the Gwen's Way plan by Harold Eaton and Associates, Inc., revised 11-4-25. Because of the small scale, the planning board determines it is in the public interest and not inconsistent with the intent and purpose of the subdivision control law to waive strict compliance with the Hadley subdivision regulations to the extent necessary to allow construction as shown on the referenced plans. Supplementary conditions, no more than one dwelling per lot, the layout of ways have been designed for 2 lots only. And approval accordingly is limited to that number of lots. The roadway will be designed and constructed in a manner which will render it unacceptable to the town of Hadley as a town way and will not be presented to the town, subject to approval of other boards if and as required. And subject to also subject to building envelope on final plan and written approval of DPW for meter pits.
You may end up changing a revision date on that one, Bill, too, when you get the revised plan.
Okay,
That's a minor point.
I can leave it the way it is so that it's not a problem.
yeah.
I'll
that
stay
would
up till
be,
midnight.
We'll check the AutoCAD date when you do it. All right, that is a motion.
I'll
Do we have
second.
a
Okay.
There is motion second. Any other discussions? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Done, aye.
Where I,
Maximovsky, aye.
Armar, I.
Zagradnik, aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And I would contend that I was qualified to vote because all that I missed, I don't have to go back and watch the video of the explanation of Randy's geometry.
no.
Neat. Very good. Next up is the continuation of the solar farm on the dual use solar array at 415 River Drive.
Hey, folks, this is Doug Searle here with Berkshire Design Group. I'm also here with Joe and Jake Marley. And may I share my screen?
Yes.
Right. So since we last spoke, there were several outstanding questions and inquiries that seemed to promulgate the continuance of this. Since we last spoke, we submitted this revised plan that I'm currently showing here. The main content of this plan is that per the request for some visual buffers along trees were discussed, and so right now trees are proposed. Jake and Joe discuss and what they're able to do in terms of fitting in with the economic feasibility of the project was plant trees along about 2/3 of the row here. So there are 20 trees on the southern side that are not to be taller than the solar panels as to not block the sun from the south, but to be in alignment with the rows so as to not block the movement of the tractor during agricultural operations. And then 7 trees along the western side to offer some visual buffer from River Road. And so a total of 27 small evergreen trees are proposed. It was also noted that River Drive 47 is a scenic byway with a 100-foot setback, so that was at least noted on the plan here. And move to the second document. We also had submitted an additional before and after solar array visualization. This is standing at the southern side. I'm going to scroll down to the next plan to show this is existing conditions image, and the visualizations were Joe's lot to the south. We stood in the driveway there just in front of the adjacent parcel to get a sense of what that distance would be like for the view shed, and so that's where these picture was taken, and then it was visualization was done in the after image to show what it would look like to have 32 rows of solar array in amongst the farm field that is there. So that this is the main issue, and we're hoping that that this meets what was being requested by members of the board last week, and we're hoping to move to close the hearing this evening. So I wanted to see if Joe or Jake had anything that they wanted to add as well, and otherwise then pass it back to the board for any discussion.
Only thing that I would add is that we, Mark, Doug, and I discussed after the last meeting we were on several times, and we were trying to strike a balance between the continued agricultural use and the solar PV generation. So thinking about screening and striking that balance, that's how we settled on this plan. We looked for engagement and didn't receive much. So this was sort of our first pass. And so that's where we are. This will allow Joe to continue farming north and south and east and west, should that be needed. Both of these, western side trees will still allow for that, as well as the trees on the southern boundary.
Okay,
Thanks, Jake.
good job. Thank you.
Yeah, looks good.
Questions from anybody? Comments?
I do. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Susan, before you start, I just want to repeat that I am not participating in this decision. I'm in a butter.
Okay.
All right. Susan Delmolino. I bring it up again about the screening. The bylaw says adequately screen that the solar array must or shall be adequately screened from view from public ways and neighboring properties. And I note that these trees are 27 feet apart. That does not provide adequate screening. There's no screening on the north. There's the road to the north. River Drive is to the north. There's houses on Cold Spring. Now that leaves are off the trees, they can see it's clear view there. There's another house on River Drive. The bylaw doesn't say that people have to come and bring the bylaw to the attention of the planning board. That really is the job of the planning board. And, I would contend that if you told the applicant up front when they were first here and proposed no screening, that it would have prevented a lot of this discussion about what's adequate screening and what's not adequate screening. But the bylaw is pretty clear, and it's a shall bylaw, and I don't think that this meets it for screening. Can I continue?
Yes.
Okay. Last time I also talked about the scenic impact of a solar array. There's about 300 acres of APR land that would surround this project, and I don't recall the board discussing that. I don't know if your process is to discuss it after everyone's spoken or not. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And I also wanted to again renew my disagreement that a storm water runoff report is not required. You'll note that the project on Rocky Hill Road has, I think it's like an 80-90 page stormwater runoff report done by a civil engineer. And that project is very similar to this one in that it's a solar ag project. same thing, minimal disruption to the earth underneath. But a civil engineer thought it was required. A builder who's doing it, Gary Roberts, who you guys, you know, you respect him, you like his work, you like what he does, he's very thorough. He thought it was required. So I renew my objection to not having a stormwater report. And I also don't recall a board discussion about that, merely that Jim declared that one wasn't needed. So I want to bring that to your attention as well, that I don't recall hearing a discussion amongst the board members as to the feasibility of that.
Well,
Questions?
I'll make a few comments about that. When we were initially forming the bylaw regarding solar arrays, there was no provisions for agricultural products to be grown under the solar bylaws. I mean, the solar arrays. So now things have changed. In fact, the state is granting permission, or they're actually encouraging permission for crops to be grown or animals to be raised under the particular solar arrays. So that has changed our position, or my position, the fact that it's still going to be farmed, and it probably shouldn't have the protection that we originally thought that people were going to be objecting to. And the one on Huntington Road, where that was on a side hill, and it was very tough to farm, and there was a lot of runoff in that particular area. So that's why I think the civil engineers decided they would address that issue. So to those particular issues, those are my comments.
As far as the Barry Roberts proposal off of Rocky Hill Road, that project is approximately, you said they're similar to this one. I respectfully disagree.
It's bigger.
And in that project is going to be approximately 20 times larger than this project. So it is significantly larger, and there is significant wetlands immediately adjacent surrounding their property. And for that reason, and it was a civil engineer's call. The civil engineer in this problem or this issue didn't think it was warranted. The civil engineer in that project thought that it was warranted. We're going by the expert advice of civil engineers. We are not licensed civil engineers on this board. And that is why that is a difference in those two projects.
And also, I think Barry's had some, he was changing grading up on the west end of that property. There's a.
That is a kind of on a side hill.
Yeah.
And this one is pretty much flat. And yes, there is an existing drainage problem that has been pointed out on this property. And like I said at the very beginning, that is an issue between landowners. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anybody or mean to anybody, but a private water runoff issue between landowners is exactly where that goes, between landowners. And the planning board and the town in general do not get involved in something like that.
Yeah, my disagreement with that is that the Barry Roberts project is noted as new development on the stormwater report. And I think that this should be done similarly, especially given the amount of runoff that exists. That's a problem now. As for the screening, you know, the bylaw is the bylaw. If you want to change it, you know, Jim, you're chair of the bylaw committee. And planning board has the responsibility for putting forth bylaws. So I guess what I'm hearing is that the planning board is saying we can ignore existing bylaws because we don't believe in them. And I think that that's a mistake.
The planning board, I have every intention of changing that section of the zone bylaw at our next annual town meeting to change the wording so that screening may be required. However, being chairman of the bylaw committee is a separate issue from the planning board. This is.
What I'm saying is that you're familiar with how to change a bylaw, and you may propose it. What you're looking to is to propose a change. It's the town meeting floor that will change the bylaw or not, just as the town meeting floor enacted this bylaw that is in effect now.
That's absolutely correct.
And scenic impact?
Scenic impact, I mean, the land is surrounded by APR, which is irrelevant to the solar bylaw. This is not on APR land. And this is set back 600 foot plus feet from Route 47. So it's, I don't want, it is certainly visible from Route 47, but it is not impacting in any way, shape, or form that I can tell the scenic vista of Route 47. Of course, and again, that is a matter of personal interpretation.
Yeah, I'd like to hear from other board members as well, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Anybody want to comment?
Yeah, agree with Jim. It's subjective regarding scenic impact if you're talking about that, and there's nothing that's preventing it either. No hard rule right now.
What do you mean nothing that's preventing it? I don't understand.
It's a subjective matter. There's no, just like the screening, it's subjective.
The screening is not subjective, Kishore. The screening, the bylaw says shall.
Yeah, and they propose some screening.
Yeah, I don't think it, Susan, I don't believe it says that you shall completely shield it, screen it entirely. They have proposed what they thought was reasonable screening from a reasonable distance, and I'm not hearing any concerns from the board. So if, I understand you don't agree with that.
I don't. I don't think arborvitae's 27 feet apart are an adequate screening. It's recommended, these are emerald green, I think, arborvitae's, to be 3 to 5 feet apart. And that's, 27 feet from 3 to 5 feet apart is a big difference.
Who put up
Anybody else care to comment?
Yeah, can we display the photos, the before and after again, and maybe zoom in on them?
Yeah, I did not get those. Jake sent me just the plan with the trees. I didn't see these pictures. This is the first I'm seeing of them. And I don't have the capacity to zoom on my laptop.
I'm attempting to zoom on this laptop here, so bear with me. I do not know why that is. It's giving me.
I see they were taken quite a week or so ago.
If you could zoom in on the after, that would be.
Mm-hmm.
Doug, are you able to scroll up a little bit so we can get the top picture in?
Like that?
Yeah.
Is that the driveway that we're seeing in the foreground?
No, that's an additional area. There's quite a lot of distance of agricultural land, so it's all agricultural land. We're standing on the driveway right now, and then there's basically all of this is just different different plant material and different stages of harvest.
So where are the panels?
They are in the back here. They're approximately 650 feet away from the driveway that we're standing on the southern end of Joe's property. The AP parcel. So they begin here and they run all the way down next to this barn. So there are 32 panels that are shown in this visualization that follow the 32 panels that are proposed to be 32 rows, pardon me, that are proposed for the dual use array. So the pivot point of the panels, they stand at 10 feet tall, and the panels pivot 55 degrees in each direction, east and west, and they're just under 8-foot panels. So at the top of this, they're roughly about 13 and a half feet tall in this row. And the arborvitae are approximately that same height. We're not proposing trees that are going to be blocking the
Reduction.
function of the solar panels from the south. We don't want to block the and minimize the or reduce the ability for the solar panels to generate electricity. And the other large piece of this, for it to be economically feasible for Joe to continue to farm in between these panels, is that there can't be trees 3 to 5 feet apart blocking the ability to move a tractor through. It would make this not economically feasible to be able to set up the panels. So that's why they are put in line with the rows.
Yeah, I do understand that. I just it's not in line with the bylaw that currently stands.
I can determine the panels are being screened, the rows of panels are being screened with a tree. Screening is not defined as a solid row of whatever, anything, to hide every little shape and form, but it is screening a big view of the panels.
Doug, how far apart were the trees at the Shattuck Road? The screening that you put in over there, how far apart were those?
Those were tightly, those were approximately 8 feet. I planted them myself. I purchased them from Wansix and used a skid steer and planted them myself. And that is much different than this parcel because that is at the edge of the parcel. And I met with Mr. Kokoski to make sure that I was planting them back from Joe's parcel line and boundary with that's shared with Mr. Kokoski. The end of that Shattuck parcel, Joe and his other operator that operate in that field, Jose, turned there. This 415 parcel, as we know, is unique in that it's a long east to west run. And so by having the screening trees at the end of each row provides screening, but still strikes a balance with the continued agricultural use and allowing Joe or Jose to operate the equipment north and south and east and west at this unique parcel.
Well, I'll just note that the screening for the first two projects, Parsons Farm and Wally's Farm, were noted as thickly wooded buffer. So I just want to point out how different this is. And I realize that Jim, you absolutely are a cheerleader for these projects. There's no question about that. But I would like the board to take into account, you have bylaws that you are supposed to work by. And you're not supposed to come into a hearing with a bias towards any particular project that may interfere with your ability to act in a fair and judicious manner.
Do you have any other comments or questions? What would the board like to do?
Let us put it to a vote, Jim.
Entertain a motion.
You're gonna approve them and incorporate by reference previous comments that Mr. Dwyer has had on other, or do we not have other projects that you can incorporate by reference?
How would we work that?
Well, I think you could incorporate by reference the same terms and conditions of your prior approvals last 2 weeks ago.
I will also, if I may, before you make the motion, just note that Mr. Dwyer is Joe's attorney. And it just, the remainder of the board should be able to handle this without him speaking up, whether it was at the very first meeting, when this project was presented, when he advocated for it. It may not be legally wrong, but it just seems to me it's an appearance of a conflict that it just looks bad. Between that and Jim, your just unrelenting enthusiasm for this, I'd like to see a fairer board. That's it. Thank you. You may continue. Sorry to interrupt.
If I could just interject here, I am also an abutter to this project, which is another reason why I'm not participating.
But you're also his attorney. And attorneys advocate for their clients. That's your job. That's what attorneys do.
And as an abutter, I'm entitled to speak of my own interests.
Want to repeat your motion, Mark?
Motion to approve incorporating by reference the conditions from 2 weeks ago.
Is the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Any other comments? Yeah.
I have one question for the engineers. What is the initial height and what is the intended growth height of the trees?
Sorry, go ahead, Jake.
No, go ahead. I was planning on with the proposed, with the quantity, with no feedback. I was planning on starting at 8 foot high. So those are pretty substantial initial height. Again, purchasing from Wansix, I think that's a good part of the story. A local business here in Hadley. And yeah, there'd be 8 to 10 foot high is what they're listed as, which in my experience, they come really at the 8 foot high initial height, and they grow about a foot a year. And that's been consistent at Shattuck 1. So they're pretty fast growing.
So you're gonna trim them once they get above 13 feet or 13 or 14?
They are shorter trees in that they only grow usually at maturity till around 15 feet in height, which is the reason why they were selected for this. We don't want to put a tree that's going to grow 40 feet tall and then require maintenance and trimming. That seems ineffective. So we wanted to pick a tree that would offer screening, but minimize blockage of sun to the panels.
What would be the maximum height of the tree?
I believe they're 15 feet.
So let's give it a maximum height of 13 to 15 feet. That sound reasonable?
Yes.
And I appreciate that they are evergreen, so that you could have picked a more of a ball tree that would hide all of the panels, but then would drop its leaves. So this will be I think that's better and solution.
I would like to make a small amendment to Mark's motion that the plant initial height of the trees would be 8 to 10 feet with a maximum proposed height of 13 to 15 feet.
Sounds good.
One question I would have,
I'll second that motion, Jim.
Pardon?
I'll second that motion if we have to have a vote on it.
one question I have, if I may.
Sure.
If the trees don't grow, you know, as Joe knows, the wind up here is, and he has mentioned, pretty terrific. It nearly blew everybody away up here today. What is the remedy if the trees are impeded from?
Typically a condition of planting any kind of screening or vegetation on a project is that everything shall be shall be actively growing 1 year after approval, and if not, then they shall be replaced. And experience has said that if it's growing 1 year, actively growing 1 year after planting, they typically are good.
And after the 1 year, in case any tractor turnarounds, take them out as they go around the corner. Is there any remedy after that? Or what would be the remedy, if any?
Would guess that if the tractor wipes out a tree, then they would replant it. If not, it would be up to the zoning enforcement officer to have them address that, because the planning board has no authority for enforcement after that.
And that's the building inspector.
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
We have a motion.
And you get a second from Joe.
It's on the amendment. Okay. Or do you want to remake your motion, Mark? We don't have to keep voting on everything.
Sure. I would move that we approve the revised design with the mention of with the reference that the trees will be initially planted at 8 to 10 feet and will grow to 13 to 15 feet, and incorporate by reference the standard conditions that we cited 2 weeks ago.
Motion. We have a second.
Yep, I'll second again.
Good. We have a motion second on the on that. Any other discussion or comments? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Dunn, aye.
Dwyer abstain.
Maximowski, aye.
Armar, aye.
Zagrodnik, aye.
Motion passes 4-0 with 1 abstention. Very good.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for your
Thank you very much.
engagement, Susan. I wish more abutters showed up to more meetings.
One last comment I'll make, and I asked the board to join me in this in requesting probably from the interim town administrator clarity on what it means to recuse, what it means to abstain, what is expected when that happens, when you should recuse, when you should abstain, the difference between the two, and under what relationships one should recuse. I think that it would be helpful for everyone, not just me or Bill, but everyone to know, you know, what is ethically correct and expected. And that way we all have a guideline to go by, and ask that probably be the interim town administrator, and to get it posted somewhere so that we understand these things, and we can do better. That's all I'm saying. I think we can do better in Hadley, and I'd like to see that. And I ask that the board join me in contacting the interim, unless you suggest someone else, the interim town administrator, to get something written up and get it up on the website.
You wishes to join Mr. Del Molino in that, you are free to do it.
Thank you.
We're going to leave this hearing now. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, members of the board.
Good night.
Good luck, Joe.
Yep, thank you.
See,
Move we adjourn.
Do we have
I got a bill to pay. Here we are. I have, we have a move, yeah. Pay the Gazette $482.90 for legal notice. That was the Barry Roberts legal notice for the Brocky Hill Solar.
I'll make a motion to pay the Gazette $482.90.
Second. Motion second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Done, aye.
Dwyer, aye.
Samansky, aye.
Farmer, aye.
Rodnick, aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Yeah, it's gonna be getting late. You have anything else, Mr. Dwyer?
Not really, two things, but not really for the whole board. Jim, I think maybe you and I and Kayla should get together to work up that first other item, we have to compare our ADU bylaw, the state ADU law, and the state ADU regulations. I think the answer to all of our questions are in there.
Okay.
But it just is something I didn't get a chance to get to it.
Yeah,
And
okay.
secondly, you and I have to get together to, and probably with Kayla as well, we have to get answers to the interrogatories.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So maybe we'll just talk tomorrow on that.
Okay. Yeah,
I'll be around. I'll be in the office the rest of the week.
Yeah, I'm available to go whenever you want. Probably the best thing is just sit in her desk and we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
She has a nice
Let
office.
us know when you're available, Bill, because you're the one that's going to probably be the most pressed.
Okay.
So take a look at your calendar. Just want to give us a text or an email and we'll meet.
Okay.
Very good.
I think we've taken up we've already addressed some of the other things and some of them are just placeholders.
Right. Yeah, we can always, we look at the possible amendment for the Springtown meeting at our next planning board. More of a light time. Okay, we have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
I would move to adjourn.
Motion second, all in favor, roll call.
I'll second, and done, aye.
Dwyer, aye.
Samansky, aye.
Farmer, aye.
Rodnick, aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you, Alex, and thank you, Kayla. Good night.
Good night.
Night.